everyone and welcome to this video. So today I'm here with something a little bit different for my channel. It's actually a TV show review, as you've seen from the description and thumbnail. So I thought I'd start doing stuff like this. I think a lot of us are at home at the moment, with everything going on. A lot of us are using Netflix probably, watching TV shows, films, all of that sort of stuff. So I thought I'd start doing like little reviews. I don't want to make them too long. I want to keep them free from spoilers. Just give my thoughts and recommendations basically, and what's good and what wasn't so good. So today I'm going to be reviewing Alice in Borderland. This show is on Netflix and it's a Japanese show and it came out in 2020. There is dubbing for it, so you can have that as an option, but personally I prefer to watch things in the original language most of the time. Sometimes dubbing's a little bit rubbishy generally, or a little bit cringy I find, and I prefer to sort of get the tone of voice and actually just to hear the language. I really like that, and then I'll just watch with subtitles, and that works well, and that's how me and my partner watched this show. So to tell you a little bit about it, it's about three friends who are in Japan. I think they're actually in the capital in Tokyo, and they're sort of like hanging out, meeting up together, and then they kind of get caught in a little bit of trouble, like with the police, and they run off to hide in this public bathroom when they think the coast is clear and everything's very quiet outside. So they come out of the bathroom and go back into like the city, and there's nobody anywhere, and it's just really creepy. It's just completely empty. And then they soon see this like screen that comes up on one of the buildings saying something about a game or a game's this way. So they go ahead and follow that, and basically they have to participate in these survival games. So it's really cool. It kind of reminded me, a bit of like Saw, like sort of closed rooms, sort of fighting for your survival, figuring games out, stuff like that. Definitely some of the later Saw films anyway, when you kind of had like a group of people all kind of working together and fighting for survival. And there's quite a lot of films like this, I suppose. Circle would be one, Exam is sort of one like that. So Alice in Borderland is 9 episodes long. And we watched the whole thing of it. It kind of ends like there could be more, but we don't know for sure yet if there's more being released. And obviously, again, with everything going on, it might be a while until we get more episodes potentially of shows. But yeah, generally, I did really enjoy this. So it was recommended to me by a friend. And it ends up being really tense and intriguing. My favourite part about it was definitely these games. So a lot of them were kind of like similar to things we already know. There was one where they had to kind of navigate through a room and it's either live or die. I think that was the first game. There's one where it's a game of tag and the characters are having to run away from this shooter. So if he sees them, like finds them like tag, then he will literally shoot and kill them. So it's quite dark. It's pretty intense. It's really exciting. It's the sort of thing that I was watching like, wow. With the earlier episodes, you don't even know any of the characters that well yet, but you don't want anyone to die. It's really tense and intriguing. It has an almost apocalyptic style with it, just because like there's like hardly any population left and they're all kind of fighting for survival. A little bit like Hunger Games as well, again like competing against each other. So it reminds me of quite a lot of things. Sort of the episodes are about 40 to 50 minutes long, normally about 50-ish from what I sort of just double checked. I'd say I definitely love the first 2 episodes. They were definitely my favourite because there was a really sense of like what's going on here, why is this happening. It was a lot about the games, which I really enjoyed, and like I said, just that tension and that kind of thrill that they had. The interesting thing about the games as well is they've all got like a card, so basically they go into this area wherever the game's being held, and it could just be like a shop or it could just be like an underground sort of car park, anywhere like that, and they all have to pick up a phone, which is kind of like their way into the game, like they kind of launch it, I suppose. I don't know if it works with Face ID, something like that maybe, so that they're kind of a participant, and then the game gets like kind of graded. A little card appears on screen, and it might be like the 2 of diamonds or the 5 of clubs or something like that. And that's really interesting because you find out that that's actually relevant later on. I'm not going to say why, just it's not exactly a spoiler, but I think that's something that would be interesting to watch if you wanted to watch this. But I do like how they have the playing cards, which do have significance, which is really cool, and they kind of become more important as the series goes on. The characters are definitely quite appealing. They all seem quite nice. The 3 friends that we start with all do seem like nice sort of average guys, quite relatable I suppose, which I like. They're just kind of quite down to earth and stuff like that. But we meet a complete range of characters, and I like that sometimes you see some characters in a game and you think, oh, they're just other participants, but then they appear in another game later on, or you meet them more later, and I think that's quite cool. There's certain characters which are really interesting. So your main character is Arisu, which I think is actually meaning Alice. So yeah, I think that's why it's called Alice in Borderland. It's kind of a whole mock-off, I think, Alice in Wonderland, with it being kind of like a weird alternative reality sort of thing, but obviously way darker and completely different really, I suppose. But yeah, so you have Arisu, and he's very clever and smart. He's actually really quite cool because he kind of figures out the games a bit, uses his brain to try and understand them. And then there's another character who's a girl, and I believe her name is Usagu. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry if I'm not. And she's quite like an athletic girl, and we meet her in the second episode. And she's kind of like climbing up things and jumping around, and I just thought she was so cool because she's like really strong and athletic and clearly smart as well, and I really kind of grow to like her, so she's awesome as well. But there's a whole range of characters. There's one character who I don't know his name, but he has like long blonde hair, and he's kind of like always in the background, he kind of standing around, and he's super intriguing because he almost doesn't seem to care about the games or feel scared like the other characters do. And he also, we learn more about him later on. So I'd say episode 3 for me was a little bit conflicting. I would say it's kind of a really dramatic episode that kind of changed a lot of things. Again, I'm not going to say why, but I still quite enjoyed it. And from that point on, I would say I started to enjoy it less. The first 2 episodes are definitely for me like brilliant, probably like 9 out of 10 level, and then going on probably they're just kind of decreasing a little bit. That said, I did really enjoy episode 4. With that one we had an underground game, and the characters had to like run to a certain location, and it was all like an underground kind of like car park or like a highway, I suppose. There was some really cool CGI in that bit. We actually had a panther that appeared, and I don't know why, but I really like stuff with like CGI wild animals. I think because that's something I would find terrifying. I love sharks, but I also find them super scary. Like big cats, wild animals, I find stuff like that so fascinating because I do quite like animals, but at the same time wild animals are absolutely terrifying because I think they could literally kill a human so easily. So yeah, so we have this panther, and that's incredibly scary and again super tense, and it's sort of like I sort of show you a lot of the time you can't take your eyes off the screen because anything could happen, and it's just awesome. So then the last few episodes, I would say definitely the last 4 or 5 episodes just weren't as good. I found that they became a lot less about the games and more just about sort of characters and kind of just like people being evil for no reason. It reminds me a little bit of The Walking Dead. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but you have a lot of people in The Walking Dead who are wanting to create their own like societies and be a leader, almost like a dictator. And this show reminded me a bit of that, where you have these characters who are trying to be in charge and kind of just being evil for no reason really, and I don't really like stuff like that. I like when there's more of a motivation. I do definitely understand the idea of like when society is falling, there will be people that actually do get power hungry and do want to get in charge. So I think it would have been nicer if we kept having games. There were still a few games in the last sort of 4 episodes, but just not as many, and they weren't as relevant or as exciting, I found. I believe this show was originally from a manga, so I'm supposing they are going off that source material. But yeah, I just think it could have gone in a slightly different direction and just kind of been more about the characters, maybe learning more about the games or what was happening to them and why it was happening. That could have been done in a more subtle way, in like more of an investigations type way. It could have been made a lot more tense. So yeah, and there is kind of a reveal at the end which does suggest there's going to be more like series to it, so I do hope that happens. I would love to see how it develops, but I just wish it was still more about the games, because by far that was the most interesting part of it. So I did give it a 8 out of 10. On IMDb it's currently scoring 7.8 out of 10, which I think is about accurate. Like I said, the first 2 episodes were amazing for me, and it really had a potential to be like a 9 out of 10, but I still gave it an 8 out of 10 because even though the last few episodes weren't as good in my opinion, I still found it really creative and quite different, and like I said, I liked some of the characters. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on Alice in Borderland. Let me know down below if you've seen this show and what you think about it. Please try and keep any comments free from spoilers, just if anybody's watching this before they've actually seen the show. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I will be looking to do more of these, of just other shows, films, stuff like that. So definitely stay tuned if you'd like to see more. And of course I do my book reviews as well, so if you're interested in reading, check out my playlist. There will be a book review one on there. But yeah, thank you so much again, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!